The jockeys and trainers changed their silks for creams for the big game. The sides first clashed 2 years ago, donating $1,000 to charity, and funds raised today go to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. The long and the short of it, though, was a grudge match between jockeys and trainers, who rarely see eye to eye. Converting from the racetrack to the batting track wasn't a problem, and the winners will be announced after correct weights.
Sydney Airport handled the backlog caused by the 11-hour shutdown with unexpected ease. The weather was the big saver. After a night of torrential rain, the skies cleared just as the airport reopened, enabling full capacity operations. There were delays nevertheless. Those most affected, international passengers scheduled to fly out last night.
I'm sorry, we're delayed, and I see the airport is jammed, and I'm just wondering if we're going to get off.
A group of package deal Japanese, though, saw the hold-up as a bonus.
Oh, they really enjoyed one more trip in Sydney.
But from one North American, a lecture.
It doesn't do the country any good at all. I think they should be able to resolve their labour problems without affecting all these people.
Efforts to do just that got underway in the Arbitration Commission, where the Civil Aviation Authority was seeking an order to compel the air traffic controllers to work overtime. To anyone affected by the delays at the airport, to say an industrial dispute was in progress would have been stating the obvious. But much of the Commission's hearing was taken up with a seemingly farcical debate, with the union insisting the controllers weren't engaged in any dispute, that their refusal to do overtime did not amount to industrial action. The union needed a Commission ruling to concede what everyone else knew to be the case.
The finding of the Commission is that there is an industrial dispute.
The Commission, though...
Ello ha provocado numerosas caídas de los materiales que han caído sobre la calzada o desmontar algunas antenas y pararrayos que corrían el peligro de quebrarse. Ha habido retrasos de algunos buques procedentes.
Ha alertado a los ayuntamientos para que adviertan a la población del peligro que generan estos.
On a pu faire face à la tempête. Une mer démontée, des creux de plus de 15 mètres. Le bateau ouest-allemand n'a eu le temps que d'envoyer un SOS avant de sombrer à...
Should we work Saturday? No. Anything else?
November 1987 was a time of great rejoicing for Fiona and her family, for it was then that she made her marriage vows. Exactly one year later, the 23-year-old's life changed dramatically again, but this was a time of anguish and uncertainty. Fiona underwent the grueling 9-hour liver transplant operation after waiting 6 months for a compatible donor.
And then the ambulance rang and said, these are the arrangements, the ambulance is going to come pick you up and take you into Fletcher Park and we'll fly down by helicopter. And I said, oh, that, you mean it's on then? And he said, oh, what do you mean? I said, well, I haven't heard from Sydney that the liver's actually for me.
Fiona has been battling life-threatening chronic active hepatitis since a blood transfusion at birth. Despite heavy doses of cortisone, she led a normal, active life, becoming a state tennis champion when she was just 11. But she was forced to give it all up at 14, and the last 9 years has been fraught with exhaustion and pain. Now, after battling against transplant rejection and infection, Fiona is recuperating at her Elibana home and under the watchful eye of her mother in Merriweather.
Not the sort of person that likes sitting down. I used to play tennis and go water skiing and things like that. But I was virtually cut off from doing those, just like wrapping yourself up in cotton wool. But now, well, once I've picked my strength up and things like that, I'll be going back to doing those normal sort of things like everyone else.
It was designed then to
Charlie's
encourage
award
our
is the
staff
largest in the
to come
74-year
forward with
history of the
ideas
suggestion
that
program
impress
and
the
warranted a special trip to Newcastle by SRA boss Ross Sayers. Under the scheme, employees are paid 15% of the savings made in the first 3 years by any suggestion of theirs which is put in place. Charlie invented a time delay device which reduces wear on diesel locomotive clutches, saving the SRA around $100,000 a year in maintenance costs. Before a payment is made, each idea is examined to ensure it is original and implemented to assess the possible savings. The assessment process is so involved it takes quite some time, even years. Charlie submitted his idea back in 1985, so it came as quite a shock to him when he found he was to receive the money. He's been retired for 2.5 years.
I'm definitely surprised about the amount I've got, yes.
And what are you going to do with it?
Well, I have 2 children, who they're number 1, of course, and I shall probably have another trip over to England.
Meanwhile, the SRA is gearing up to face some much bigger and tougher ideas. A team of international consultants called in last year to try to solve the SRA's debt crisis is due to report in April. Ross Sayers wasn't giving anything away today, but admits they will recommend many changes.
Yes, there will be some staff reductions in areas as we eliminate overmanning and we move to more efficient management and work methods.
However, Mr Sayers was also quick to reassure rail employees that the razor would be used with compassion.
There will be no forced redundancy. No one will be forced to leave State Rail who wishes to stay, and there will be no forced transfer of country people to Sydney.
Just last week, Matt Ryan believed his Big Bay Horse Tournival, or Radish to his friends, would be his ride to the very top in the equestrian world. The only trouble was, to make it to the top, Matt needs to get into international competition quick smart, and his ticket overseas was Radish. So with much regret, Matt put Radish up for sale at last weekend's New South Wales Equestrian Centre performance horse auction, with the hope that whoever may buy him would let him take Radish overseas, hopefully all the way to the next Olympics. Also in Matt's favour was Reagan Terrace businessman Ron Delforce, who vowed to do his best to buy Radish for Matt if the price was right. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Radish sold to a Sydney buyer for $24,000, far more than Ron could pay. And while the horse's new owner sympathised with Matt's plight, he wasn't too keen to see Radish set sail to the continent. So Matt may well have seen his dream disappear if a big grey horse, also to go under the hammer, hadn't caught his eye.
And I was in the arena just working my own horses, and I saw this horse being worked, and I saw the fellow riding and putting him over a few jumps, and I said, oh, this looks pretty interesting. And so, yeah, that's what first caught my eye, seeing him jump over a decent-sized fence. It looked pretty special.
This time the gods smiled on Matt. Ron picked up the horse for only $5,000, and suddenly Matt had his star of the future again. At this stage the pair are still very new together, and at only 4 years Big Blue is a little on the green side. But Matt has faith in the horse's potential and has begun working on his flat work immediately. And there's hardly a moment to waste. On April 8 he's to set forth for the continent with his team of 3 horses for what he believes is a badly needed lesson in world competition.
I'm going to plan to compete, hopefully at the top level. Hopefully I'll get this fella up there and just compete, get the sheer experience of competing. We're so isolated over here in Australia, we lack the international competition. And so the whole idea is going over there, competing against the best and comparing ourselves and developing new techniques that we haven't developed over here.
And as for Big Blue, well, Matt says don't go looking for his name in print too soon. He's still got a lot of learning to do. But Matt has complete faith that one day he'll ride for Australia aboard the Big Grey and that the horse will do his country proud. Tracy Reid, NBN News.
For the traveller, the book, This is Newcastle and the Hunter Region, gives a statistical and descriptive overview of the area. But it's not just for the visitors, it's for local people as well.
It's designed for a number of audiences. First of all is the potential investors in the Hunter region, but also the local Newcastle and Hunter region residents, as well as visitors and policymakers. And we've also designed it particularly for school children to be able to use in their projects.
The book, which was produced by the Hunter Valley Research Foundation, covers a range of issues from the hunters' climate to industry, education, tourism and future planning. At today's launch, Lord Mayor John McNaughton said he'd be using information from the book to promote Newcastle's bid for the frigate contracts.
Wish well everybody who had anything to do with it and say how confident.
Only a handful of players were left from the 88 squad: Michael Johnson, Jerry Everett, Sean Dennis, Peter Hill and Chris Still. With the exception of former Adelaide 36's star Bill Jones, the new recruits look as though they are straight out of school. But Ken Cole's kids serve notice that they won't take a backward step or any notice of reputations. Neither side played well in the first 5 minutes, but slowly Jones and Everett began to combine well and the Falcons settled into a good rhythm. Bring on 18-year-old 7-footer Neil Turner. The youngster proceeded to stifle the Kiwis by some brilliant defence, making an incredible 9 block shots, at the same time setting some big screens for his teammates to score. Neil's fellow recruits Grant Kruger, Jamie Carr and Peter Harvey also played very well. Everett was his consistent self with 33 points, and his rapport with Bill Jones is sure to be of great value to the Falcons, who went on to win comfortably 119-82.
The 18,000-tonne ship was edged into the harbour by 2 tugs this morning after completing exercises off Jarvis Bay last night. Built in Sydney in 1984, the success is based on the French Durance class and has been in service for the last 3 years. The ship's role is to replenish fleet units at sea, delivering fuel, food, water, ammunition and spare parts. Using these flexible pipes, the ship has the capacity to refuel 2 vessels at the one time, transferring more than 1 million litres of fuel per hour. The ship's captain, Graham Sloper, said the supply vessel will be spending 4 weeks in dry dock in Newcastle from April 10. Captain Sloper said of all the tenders, the Newcastle offer was by far the best. This is good news for 7 of the ship's company of 206 who have families in Newcastle. They were reunited with their loved ones today and are looking forward to their days at home.
David, what have you got planned for tonight?
Just a night out in the town with the boys, show them around, show the guys that haven't been here before what the city's like, show them what a good city it is.
Well, I'll be going home tonight. My mother cooks pretty mean tea, and over the next couple of days just meeting various friends and family and kicking over some old stones and see what comes up.
For the Pensioner Council delegates, today's meeting was a prime opportunity to put the troubles of the hunters' elderly fairly in the lap of the people they believe can help the local politicians. 8 members of the council executive faced Mr Morris, member for Hunter Eric Fitzgibbon and member for Charlton Bob Brown, with a well-documented list of the key areas affecting the livelihood of elderly citizens.
We're just on the agenda there. We're covering the housing, the adequacy of the pension. We're also talking about the effect of the taxation system and the social security system on pensions. And we're also talking about the fact that people's telephone rebate now is given by a coupon. We're going to bring that up because a lot of older people are very confused. And
Jim Priest, president of the Hunter Regional Council, told the meeting that as much as 3/4 of the Hunters' pensioners live below the poverty line. And it was those he said the meeting was aimed at helping, hopefully by encouraging the politicians to present their case to Parliament.
What we're hoping for is to put the view of the ordinary pensioner, not the people that are well off and receiving a part pension. They have an argument to get more and all that sort of thing, but we feel that the government should be looking at those people living below the poverty line in the first instance.
Hunter ambulance paramedics say the government's hard line on the monetary value of the rescue helicopter cannot be justified.
It basically boils down to the dollar versus patient care.
Jeff Marlborough, president of the Health and Research Employees Association, says health is not an issue for restrictive budgets. Newcastle does have a high level of helicopter use compared to other centres. All jobs, according to Jeff Marlborough, which were absolutely urgent. The government has also directed that only superintendents can now approve the use of the helicopter, a job which up until now has been done by supervisors and coordinators.
They have had almost 9 to 10 years experience of tasking the helicopter system for aeromedical work, and it's unfortunate that one of the panicked moves that the local administration has taken is to take the rightful and excellent work that those officers are doing away from them and give the final say to what the aircraft responds to the inexperienced superintendents.
5 superintendents work from the main Hamilton office on a 9 to 5 basis. According to Jeff Marlborough, supervisors working after hours must now waste precious minutes getting superintendent approval for the rescue helicopter service, when time may well mean a patient's life. Peter Ryan reporting for NBN News.
That team of John Pine, John Brown, Stu Robertson and Bob Brewer is hoping for a result similar to the last time the two teams met, when Newcastle stole the glory from a then unbeaten American side. The American team of John Pearson, Mike Klein, Chuck Wardell and Andy Jensman have taken out the last 5 tests in the series and has won on all the major tracks in the country except Newcastle. On Saturday night, they're aiming to change all that.
John Pearson is first, John Pine is second.
There was plenty of feeling in the first few minutes with both sets of forwards not taking a backward step. But the Bulldogs were first to open their account in the 4th minute with a well-executed try by Gillespie and fullback Greg Bowick, who crossed in the corner. Brian Quinton put the Knights on the board with penalties in the 12th and 30th minutes to level it 4-all. Mark Blandville made a super break for the Knights but had no one in support and a try went begging. A couple of minutes later, Butterfield also made a break and again the Knights couldn't capitalise. After the resumption, Canterbury scored through a brilliant solo effort from their 5'8 Darren Curry, and he scored a converted try right under the posts. Both teams scored further tries, locking the scores at 16-all. Bring on winger Brian Quinton, stand-in kicker. He'd already kicked 6 from 6, and in the last second of the match, he could win it from a penalty, and it's as cool as a cucumber. He banged it over the black dot, and the Knights retain the Herald Challenge Cup, 18 points to 16.
Brian Quinton, why, gee, what a surprise packet with the Buddhist Quinton.